60 Minutes with Angela starts right now.
When one vows, as Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari has done, to fight corruption to a standstill, I suppose one expects clear, definitive results. Will President Muhammadu Buhari win this war on corruption? Is the war doomed to fail because it is essentially a one-man battle? Do members of his administration really key into this war on corruption? Well, hello and welcome to the program. I'm Angela Ajetumobi. He's a human rights lawyer and an anti-corruption crusader. OKOI OBONO OBLA is the senior special assistant to Nigeria's President Buhari on prosecution and also the chairman of the Special Investigation Panel for the Recovery of Public Property. What does President Buhari need a special advisor on prosecutions for? I mean, if your appointment, as many saw it, was meant to increase the velocity of the corruption war, at least make us see more results, has it been effective?
Yes, it has been effective. As a matter of fact, a lot of people do not know what I do. I advise on policy, legal policy, concerning corruption and the criminal law system as a whole. I am now the chair of the Special Presidential Investigation Panel for Recovery of Public Property. We are not loud about it. We work behind the scenes efficiently and effectively. And we are doing great work, particularly concerning public sector corruption. That is why I'm always taken aback when people say the president is not fighting corruption, because the law under which the special panel was consulted was a law that was made on the 31st of December 1983. It was used effectively, squarely, and efficiently during General Buhari's first coming as a military head of state.
So that law has been in existence?
It has, but successive regimes
or
administrations in this country abandoned that law. It was left in a state of limbo, in the dustbin, in the archives, because they didn't want to fight corruption. And now, for the first time since 1985, a government has come in place that has gone to the archives and exhumed that law, because that law is very strict, is very potent. And then people say the president is not fighting corruption. What do they want? To the last side of your question, prosecution. Because the president wanted to fight corruption. For the first time since the inception of civilian government in the country, this position was created, Special Assistant to the President on Prosecution. And I work with the Attorney General. I support the Attorney General. I also advise him on issues concerning prosecution and also the criminal law systems in Nigeria.
I heard a previous statement of yours. You said some time back that with the president's return from his medical vacation, you thought the war on corruption would be strengthened. So I was looking at that statement. If you listen to my introduction, I said, is this war doomed because it is essentially a one-man battle? Are we saying that if the president is not physically present here, that war is shaky? This administration cannot fight the war without the president?
Well, there are a lot of anti-corruption crusaders in Nigeria. There are a lot of activists. There are a lot of Nigerians who do not like corruption. That is why you see an outrage. When a seemingly corrupt person finds his way back to the civil service, there's an outrage. That means we are winning the war against corruption. 5 years ago, 3 years ago, when the previous administration was in power, there was no such outrage. And this man is a product of that regime. So what we are seeing is the debris, the legacy of years of chronic, scandalous corruption that has eaten into the fabric of the Nigerian society, the debris, which government is trying to clear. And the president has always been an anti-corruption crusader. In the history books, his first coming, why was he even selected military head of state? We have it that he did not participate in the coup. But the soldiers, the officers that toppled the government of Shagari, they wanted an anti-corruption crusader. They wanted a man of integrity, unblemished integrity. So they went for him, and he fought that war squarely, resolutely, and in the process he was toppled just because they saw him as unbending, that somebody was bent on cleaning the country. And he has come this time as a Democrat, not as a military potentate, not as a military dictator who rules with decrees. Now he has a National Assembly to contend with. He has the judiciary to contend with. He has the civil society to contend with. He has the press to contend with. So that war will not be as straightforward as we saw it. But the war is on, and we are succeeding. Nigerians are now outraged by corruption. When they hear a public officer has soiled his hands, Nigerians don't want to have anything to do with him. They come out openly and speak against that public officer.
Thankfully, you've said they don't want to have anything to do with him, because you've mentioned the case of the recent AbdulRasheed Mohammed, this surreptitious reinstatement of him into the civil service. You know that that singular incident, the Mena saga, as I like to call it, has caused the president's integrity to be seriously questioned. And the president seems damned whichever way he goes, because if he says, look, I knew about this surreptitious return, it would be as if he's supporting corruption. If he says he doesn't know about the return of the man, people will say, what else don't you know about going on in your administration? So whichever way we look at it, the Mena issue doesn't look good for this administration.
I agree with you, it doesn't look good, but I have said elsewhere, if you want to judge this regime, if you want to judge the success of the war against corruption, you have to look at what this regime has done holistically. You don't just use an isolated case or one case to score the government that the government has not done well or the war is not on. That incident is too isolated. We have also done a lot of positive things, and I will want Nigerians to applaud this government for the positive things we have done.
What are the positive things that this administration has achieved? I
have told you, my panel will work behind the scenes. We try as much as possible to avoid the media. We have been doing a lot of work. For instance, last week we recovered a lot of money from officials of a federal government-owned bank that breached public trust. They were using a bank that was set up, a specialized bank, to promote commerce, to promote industry, to promote trade, import and export trade. But they were getting money from this bank, paying themselves or giving and granting loans to themselves outside the mandate of the bank. We are investigating. We have done a lot, and Nigerians don't know because we don't go to the press. So I think the war against corruption is on course. I can score this government 80%. For the first time in the history of this country, maybe the second time. The first time was when Buhari was military head of state. The second time we have seen a government that has demonstrated, that has manifested the will, the zeal, the dedication and commitment to fight corruption. But it is not easy, as I said, because we are in a democracy. You have to follow the due process. Because if you do not follow the due process, you are also indulging in corruption. So corruption is not all about stealing money or inflating contracts. Corruption is impunity, when you carry out impunity, when you do not follow the law, lay down procedure, then you are corrupt. You see a president who is very, very procedural, is very, very democratic, and Nigerians do not have patience, you know, because they are yet to attune themselves to the reality. When this man said, I'm coming to change Nigeria, change mantra, they don't understand. Change is not just changing the government. Change in all ramification. Being a Democrat, unlike previous presidents we had since 1999, they have been very undemocratic. You know, but this man has tried to be very, very democratic, and Nigerians do not understand. They see it as a weakness. They see that this war is one-sided. It is not true. The war is on. I can see we have done well.
Yes, they say the war is one-sided. They say that because it appears to many that when the president's men are involved, there is a slight hesitation, there is a slowing down.
I don't agree in toto. I don't agree with you.
What about the case of Babachi?
Let me
remember when the president returned, the first federal executive meeting was cancelled because the vice president was going to present the report of the special investigative panel on the matter of the former SGF of the Federation, Babachi Lawa. Till date,
there is a misconception here.
Yes.
I do not think this war is one-sided. Those who say this war is one-sided are not fair, or they are just indulging what I call political gimmickry, or playing to the gallery. That is what some Nigerians want to hear. They are using that, you know, as a sort of red herring to divert attention, to dish out to the Nigerians a false narrative. What do they mean by one-sidedness? PDP was in government for 16 good years.
Yes.
16 years is a long time in the life of even a person. They were in control of the federal government, and you know the federal government is massive. The federal government bureaucracy is large. They were also in control of more than 30 states or thereabouts of the country. So let me say they were in control of about 90% of Nigerian resources, and they abused it. So who are those to be asked to render account, to render stewardship, to ask questions? It is members of the previous government. It is not APC. APC was founded on the 31st of July 2013, and this government came into office on the 29th of May 2015, just barely 2.5 years. So why would you want APC members to be asked questions concerning who managed the NNPC, who managed Nigerian Customs Service, who managed Federal Inland Revenue, who managed Nigerian Export Bank, Nigerian Port Authority, and so on and so on? It cannot be APC members. It is PDP members who manage the monies that were budgeted for the military to buy weaponry, to fight Boko Haram. It is not APC members. But some people, it is convenient for them to create the impression that the war is one-sided, and that APC members should just be arrested and locked up or even put to trial, even though nothing has been made out against them. You were asking about Bidi Lawa's matter.
Babachi, yes.
The president did the needful. In the first instance, it was not well managed by the Senate.
How?
Yes, because the Senate has no power to investigate crime. If the allegation was that Bidi Lawa indulged in corruption, or financial crime, or economic crime, what the Senate would have done was to make a report to EFCC or SSS or ICPC or any of the law enforcement agencies to investigate that matter. But they went, held sittings, and the man did not even go. He said, look, you now give me a fair hearing because I have problem with the leadership of the National Assembly. So eventually, it came to a coup d'etat. So the president intervened. The president intervened because it was cloudy. It was hazy. Was there an economic crime? Was there a financial crime? Was corruption committed? So he had to set up an administrative panel. And you know, an administrative panel cannot investigate crime. An administrative panel is always vested with powers to invest inefficiency, maladministration, maybe somebody was negligent, or somebody has engaged in a maladministration.
Yes.
So it doesn't investigate crime. Eventually, if an administrative panel is set up,
yes,
and crime
is detected,
yes, the proper recommendation,
yes,
that panel will make is that, look, that matter should be reported to police for investigation.
Are we saying that the police cannot investigate or arrest Babachir Lawal unless the investigative panel indicts him?
Well, because since the president has intervened,
yes,
you do not expect the law enforcement agencies to start struggling with a committee set up by the president.
Yes.
That committee is to advise Mr. President, look, a crime has been committed. The man did not comply with the procurement law, or he used his company to get contracts.
Yes.
They will make some findings,
yes,
and then they will now recommend to Mr. President, oh, Mr. President, report this matter to EFCC or ICPC. But you know, if an administrative panel is set up, the normal practice is that after the report is presented,
yes,
to the person who appointed that committee or panel, that person will now set up another committee. So look at this report and advise. In administrative law, most times the review committee, if 10 recommendations are made,
yes,
by the committee that carried out the investigation, they say, okay, 10 recommendations, and they may reduce it to 2. They may advise Mr. President, reject 8 and accept 2. So I want Nigerians to be patient, because the president is trying to follow the due process of the law. Eventually, there will be a white paper will be issued, and the white paper will be the position of government on that issue.
The fear is that with the surreptitious reinstatement of AbdulRasheed Mohammed, how are we sure that Babachir Lawal will not come back through the back door?
The facts and circumstances are not the same. We have to look at every case from
on its own merit.
Yes. But I will not even think that Mena came in through the back door.
Let's take our first break here, because you are saying you don't think he came in through the back door.
Yes.
And I also know that as SSA to the President on prosecution, you are domiciled in the office of the Attorney General.
Yes.
So we'll take it from that point when we come back from the break. So join us again after the break. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, it's 60 Minutes with me, Angela Ajetumobi. On my hot seat today, Senior Special Assistant to Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari on prosecution, OKOI, OBONO, OBLA. So, you are domiciled in the office of the Attorney General. Did you know that Mena was back in the country? Did you know that he had resumed work, even though he was on the wanted list of the EFCC?
I want to be frank about it. I didn't know. I first knew when I appeared in Chanel, and I was asked that question.
Yes.
I gave an answer, you know, and some Nigerians misinterpreted my answer.
What was your answer?
I said, has he been convicted? No, I was talking as a lawyer. I was not talking as a moralist, because there's a difference between law and morality.
Yes.
I know the way we are trained not to be sentimental. We are trained not to be emotional. When you are interpreting the law,
yes,
when you are giving a legal argument.
So give us a sense of what the Attorney General sees that makes him think it's okay.
And then you can't fault the Attorney General on points of law. I know the Attorney General is the custodian of the Constitution. He's the guardian of the Constitution. He is the guardian of public interest. He is the chief law officer of the country by virtue of section 151 of the Constitution. And he is the chief prosecutor of the Federation, also by virtue of section 171(4) of the Constitution. The Attorney General has enormous powers by virtue of the Constitution, by a lot of our laws, give the Attorney General a lot of powers. So what happened? Though I wasn't a person, I was not part of what took place.
Yes.
Yeah, because that brief was not given to me. 2 judgments were presented to the Attorney General by Mena's lawyer. They wrote annexed 2 judgments. a judgment of the Federal High Court
in Abuja.
Then another judgment of another court. The first judgment, the Senate was a defendant in that judgment, and some other parties.
Yes.
And the court said the Senate did not give Maina a fair hearing. That based on what transpired in 2012 or 2013.
At the time when the Senate gave the then president.
Yes, it was in power. That judgment is dated February 2013. And the former Attorney General did not appeal. Normally, under our civil proceedings, the period for appeal is 90 days. So that judgment was dated 28 February 2013 or thereabouts. So the defendants or those who lost that case, including the Nigerian Senate, they had 90 days from that 28 February 2013 to appeal that judgment. That time expired at about maybe May or June 2013.
What essentially did that judgment say? That Maina wasn't given a fair hearing?
Yeah, he wasn't given a fair hearing, that he was dismissed from the civil service unlawfully, unconstitutionally.
Right.
I can understand.
Yes.
That his position should be restored. And no, there was no appeal. 2013, 2014, and this government came into office 29th of May 2015. And the Attorney General himself assumed office November 2015. So, if that kind of judgment that nobody has filed appeal against is made available to the Attorney General for advice, what do you think that the Attorney General will do? The Attorney General will not ask government, don't obey this judgment. That would be illegal.
But why didn't the Attorney General, knowing that Maina had been declared wanted, he's on the EFCC website, the Interpol was already searching for him. When you get that kind of letter from Maina's lawyer, don't you do some kind of due diligence checks?
We are not yet done. The second judgment, you know, Maina was declared wanted by EFCC. It was based on a warrant of arrest issued by a magistrate court in Abuja, and he was declared wanted.
Yes.
But do you know that that warrant of arrest was set aside? I had mentioned to you that he presented two judgments. Yes. The second judgment set aside the warrant of arrest.
And
so at the time the lawyer...
What does that mean in legal parlance?
Oh, it means that there was no order for arrest. It means that the directive or whatever declaring him wanted is null and void. It's not there again.
So will the charges remain if the warrant of arrest is faulty? The things they were going to charge him with, will they remain?
Well, what they should have done was to appeal against that judgment. Yes, he was supposed to appeal against that judgment. And but I don't know why that judgment was not appealed against. So the Attorney General was presented with these judgments, and they don't expect him to advise government to disobey this order. The responsibility of the Attorney General is to advise, and he did advise. And the body that was responsible, that was vested with the power by the Constitution to promote discipline and recruit civil servants from level 8 to 17 in the federal government bureaucracy is the Federal Civil Service Commission. The Federal Civil Service Commission is created by Section 153 of the Constitution. It is in the same pedestal like INEC, and it's supposed to be independent, it's supposed to be insulated from political interference. And when the Attorney General advised the Federal Civil Service Commission, and look, these judgments, there are two judgments.
Yes. One says he did get a fair hearing, one says the warrant is faulty.
So there's nothing stopping you from obeying this judgment because there's no appeal. And the Federal Civil Service Commission sat as a commission. That commission has quasi-judicial powers. They sat, deliberated, and came out with a decision in favor of Maina, saying that it should be reinstated. The work of the Attorney General ends at the level of giving advice.
Could the Attorney General not have reached out to the EFCC, for instance, and said, look, I have a judgment in front of me here saying that the warrant you issued against Maina is faulty.
Yes.
Are you guys not going to appeal it? You haven't appealed it. Do you know that the result of your not appealing it?
Well, I do not think that the Attorney General need to do that after judgments were given
in 2013.
So why didn't Jonathan's regime appeal that judgment? Why didn't their previous Attorney General appeal that judgment? They were in office from 2013 to 2015 May. That is why I'm saying what we are seeing is an ugly legacy of PDP misrule of this country, of what we experienced previously when there was no government, an irresponsible government in place. And we are just been, trying to clean the stench left by these people. You are talking about EFCC Attorney General, but I'm sure you are aware of the experience we have with EFCC. The EFCC thinks they have the same powers as the Attorney General. Sometimes they don't really want to, have a synergy with the Attorney General. By the law, they are supposed to clear from the Attorney General before they file charges in court. If they are investigating any case that the value of that matter or properties above 50 million naira, yes, they are supposed to revert to the Attorney General. Any matter that has international dimension, like that kind of matter, they are supposed to revert to the Attorney General. Make the case files available, make reports of investigation. Most times they don't do it, even though most times we make requests. Like me, I wrote to EFCC 2016 as they make available all the high-profile cases you have been doing, because we know that some high-profile cases have been there for the past 8 years, 9 years. And we wanted to look at them and advise them or ask questions. Why has this matter stayed in court more than 6 years? What is the problem? What are the challenges? But they didn't cooperate. You remember there was a long argument, with the Office of the Attorney General and EFCC, and they were not ready to work with the Office of the Attorney General.
This intra-agency rivalry. I mean, if everyone keys into a war,
unfortunately, some people think that they know too much.
Yes.
They have attitude, or they are more patriotic, or they are more committed, and it shouldn't be, because I think all of us should work together, exchange intelligence, because we are working for the same government. But some people have this attitude that, look, this is my turf, don't come in, stay, stay in your sphere of authority, don't interfere, don't intrude. But it's wrong. As a government, we must work together.
All agencies.
All agencies involved in the war against corruption.
One of the problems that I see also with the war on corruption is the lack of convictions of what many call big fish. We still don't see the big names. I mean, sometimes you see in the papers, a man steals a phone or 170 naira and is sentenced to 5 years.
Yes.
But then you see those who are being charged with stealing of billions. Is either the case just dies a natural death?
Yeah, I had a long face-off with the judges. I was very critical of the judges, of their attitude when some high-profile matters were not, well handled, though they are on appeal.
When you say they're not well handled, it looks as if this government thinks because it's fighting a war on corruption, the judges must always convict everybody that they bring.
That is rather the thinking of Nigerians. That is why they make it an issue. Each time we lost an high-profile case in the High Court, what should it be? Because you cannot really say a matter is lost until that matter is fought to the Supreme Court.
Yes.
Either way, if the defendant loses, he will likely go on appeal, and from the Court of Appeal, the prosecution may go to the Supreme Court. But in Nigeria, when we lost a case, it's a big story. Nigerians feel that when we take matters to court against high-profile people, we must win. But we have a lot of challenges. We inherited a dysfunctional criminal justice system that the government has not even invested money to rejuvenate over the years, maybe 50 years period. We also inherited a judiciary too that do not seems, quote and unquote, working with the executive. Also, the legislature too didn't quite, work with the executive. Yeah. So at a point, I came out to say this. It seems as if only President Buhari is the only one fighting corruption, because we took a lot of bills to to the National Assembly to rejig the war against corruption, you know, to reform our laws dealing with corruption. But the Senate and or the National Assembly was not enthusiastic. We wanted to set up a special criminal court vested with jurisdiction to handle financial crimes, economic crimes, corruption. We didn't have the cooperation of legislation. Till now, that law is there. We also took the Money Laundering Act to the National Assembly. For the past 2 years, it's stuck in the National Assembly. So we do not have a desire cooperation, even with Nigerians. When we started arresting people, they were saying that we were one-sided.
Yes.
That was the narrative.
Yes. That
the government was too hard, that we were fighting corruption without taking into account the human rights of those involved. There were a lot of propaganda, you know, to distract the government. So apart from that, the court system was not, you know, there for us.
Yes. The
court system, in the sense that if you are fighting crime or corruption, you must have a judiciary that is very knowledgeable, a judiciary that is very firm, a judiciary that is very committed, a judiciary that is focused.
Yes.
What we saw was that the judiciary, most times, not all judges, the judges do not just believe in the war against corruption. For instance, when we came into office, the Administration of Criminal Justice Act was passed 2015, just a few days before President Buhari took over office. That law was sort of revolutionized the criminal law procedure. That law has timelines for hearing of cases. That law do not give room to lawyers to use legal technicalities to maneuver their way. That law says there is no stay of proceedings in criminal matters. But in the reality, in practice, some of the judges don't even enforce the provisions of that law. I can tell you from personal experience, because I do go to courts. One of the high-profile cases against somebody who allegedly mismanaged 15 billion US dollars that was budgeted to buy weaponry for the military. We have been going to court for the past 2 years. We are stopped because the defense counsel will always come out with gimmicks, delay tactics. You know, at a point we saw that they don't even want the matter to go on.
When they're delaying and doing all
this, and the judges pander, you know. They say, that's why I was saying we must have judges who are firm. So you understand, even if a senior counsel is in court and he makes an application calculated to adjourn a matter or to delay the matter, I expect the judge to call that counsel to order and ensure that that counsel do not have his way. But most times they have their way. For instance, in one of the matters, a senior counsel came to court and said, look, I'm going to Mecca. A senior advocate, and he had an army of lawyers with him. And there is also another senior advocate in that matter. If he was going to Mecca, then his other colleague was not going to Mecca. So why would he have an adjournment? And we opposed the application. Our counsel too was a senior advocate. We opposed the applications, you know, stoutly. But the court granted the adjournment for almost 3 months for that counsel to go to pilgrimage to Mecca. So that's why I say some of the judges do not have, you know, cease to, you know, to support the war against corruption. But commendably, the Chief Justice of Nigeria has come out with some bold reforms, you know, and setting up a committee that will monitor financial, economic, and corruption cases. Also warning that lawyers will be punished, lawyers who abuse the legal process, lawyers who ask for adjournment, or lawyers who stall hearing of high-profile cases. If we had that 2 years ago, by now we would have had a lot of convictions. But I also say that, look, corruption fighting is not all about conviction, because even in advanced jurisdictions, there's this emphasis on sentencing people to prison. For instance, in a country like US, they have the parole system. They have community service. You know, they have suspended sentences, and which we have adopted in our Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015. So fighting corruption, fighting crime, is not all about throwing people into prison. The most important thing is the law is seen as a deterrence. If I commit a crime, if I steal government money, I am investigated, I am arrested, I am docked. It's very traumatic for anybody to pass through arrest, investigation, and then arraignment in court. Some people will not want that, because they will be stigmatized, even if they are not sentenced to prison. You know, in our environment, yes, the method that you are arrested by the policeman or you are invited to the police station is enough to send a very negative signal.
Yes.
And in some of our cultures, naming and shaming,
yes,
it's also a big thing.
Yes.
You know, if I steal, my children may not be able to marry.
Yes.
In my community, everybody will say, oh, that family, their
father
thieves.
was this.
So that is it. Social control is not all about putting people into prison. So I will not agree that we have not done well because we have not had a lot of conviction. A lot of matters are pending in court. Eventually, we are going to have convictions.
Yes.
And some people will be set free. We do not expect that if we take 20 cases to court against high-profile people,
yes,
we will win all the cases. We will win and we will lose.
Yes.
Yes, but the message has been passed that if you put your hand into government money and you are caught, you will be arrested, you will be investigated, you will be docked, and you will be stigmatized, even if you are not convicted.
Join us again after the break. Welcome back. Still on this AbdulRasheed Mohammed issue, why would the family come out to say that this administration invited him back if it's not true? I mean, again, look at his convoy, his security, you know, DSS. Why would they say the administration invited him if it wasn't true?
The presidency has denied that he was invited. So, and I would not believe that he was invited. If he was invited, and if the president was on the know, why would the president take such a drastic measure as soon as he heard on television?
Yes.
Yes.
The president heard it on the news.
I think so. You know, and it struck a chord on him. I've heard about this man. This man was very notorious 3-5 years ago.
Yes.
And the president did the needful. So
shouldn't we be worried that some other people who are on suspension may have been surreptitiously reinstated? Because this opens up a whole lot of things.
Yes, you see, the civil service, I don't want to make a negative remark about the civil service.
Yes.
I don't want to make a negative remark about Nigerians or our institutions. But I think this war against corruption should not be a one-man's fight.
Does it seem like that to you as well?
Well, to a certain extent, because I've told you, we have a lot of people who are revolted by corruption.
Yes.
I am revolted by corruption. And all my life as a lawyer, as a young lawyer, I have fought corruption. I have tried to promote the virtues of accountability and transparency. And I believe a lot of Nigerians do. So, and we have seen a government or a political leadership at the level of the presidency for the first time in so many years that is zealous, that is committed, that wants to fight corruption. So I expect everybody to queue. I expect everybody to support. But unfortunately, they used to say that old habits die hard, or a leopard will never change his skin.
Yes.
There, some of the civil servants do not, support the war, because they are conservative. They are used to the old way of doing things, because the old way of doing things is very enticing. You make easy money, and that is why today a lot of Nigerians complain there's so much hardship. Yes, so much hardship because you can't make easy money. That is one way I will say that the war against corruption has succeeded. There is no easy money. Abuja used to flow with easy money, and those who make this money are not professionals. They are not hard-working people. They are jobbers. So the jobbers are not making money again, and they are complaining. So to that extent, I will say that the war against corruption has succeeded.
Yes.
But let me tell you, my sister, we are talking about a country where you have had many years of endemic, pandemic corruption. A country where corruption was institutionalized, that people do not believe that they can have promotions, they can enter the public service without paying bribes. Do you know the kind of pressure we face as public officers? People expect you to give them money. Every day I receive more than 50 text messages. Give me money, my son is going to school, my daughter is going to school, I am so down, there's no food in the house, and so forth and so on.
Where do they think you will get that money
because they
from?
believe previously, public servants used to have a lot of money at their disposal.
And you are in the presidency.
Yes, because I depend on my salary. And even what I'm receiving now is much lower than what I used to make as a private legal practitioner. But I have learned to cut my coat according to my size. I have disciplined myself that with the little money I am paid, I will manage it so that I will not cut corners and soil my name. Because I'm very mindful of my name. My children should also be very mindful of my name. And my wife is also mindful of what I do. If I bring monies that I cannot explain to the house, she will ask me questions. So I expect Nigerians to do that. I expect our community people to stop, putting pressure on us to give them money. Because where is this money coming from? Other than corruption. And this government has said, look, no easy avenue to making money. And so Nigerians are not happy. And they complain, and they only see this war against corruption from a negative perspective. For instance, the Mena case is enough for them to begin to suggest that the war against corruption has failed. I mean, they are not being fair. They are not being fair.
I want us to talk about Biafra before you go. What is the federal government's opinion on this agitation? Does the federal government consider this administration to be a legitimate right that these groups have?
It is fueled by corruption. It is fueled by years of misgovernance. I was in the southeast. I traveled from my community in Crusader State. Through Ebonyi to Abia to Imo State. I passed through Enugu Port Harcourt Expressway. That is one of the major highways that straddles the south and southeastern regions. And I saw that there were massive road construction going on. And I imagine that for the past 16 years, we had a lot of high-ranking government officials from the southeast. And these roads were not done. In the previous administration, a barrel of oil was going for $150. Nigeria made so much money, more than what Nigeria made between 1st January 1914 to about 2006. Between 2008 to 2015, Nigeria made so much money, but the roads were not done. Our infrastructures were left to decay, and there was a lot of corruption. And then this government came into office, and this government says we will stop corruption. This government said they are arresting some people who used to think that they are untouchable. And these are the people who are fueling all this agitation, restructuring, Biafra, and so forth, cannot be extracted from corruption. They fuel corruption because corruption money fuel corruption. For corruption money fuel instability. For corruption money fuel armed conflicts. And we have seen it in a lot of countries in Africa, in Asia, and South America, that corruption money fuels instability, civil wars, and what have you? So, the agitation, what is the agitation all about? Biafra. Biafra ended on the 15th of January 1970. So why would anybody in his right senses begin to agitate for Biafra? And then they even included South. I am from Crusader State. And my people rejected Biafra. In 1967, they said, no. Our leaders rejected Biafra. So 50 years thereafter, you are bringing back Biafra. Okay, they include the whole of South. The whole of South was never part of the Eastern region, the former Eastern region. That was Biafra. Understand? Delta and Edo were not part of Eastern region. They used to be Midwestern region. That was carved out of the old Western region. It is only Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Bayelsa, and Rivers that were part of the old Eastern region. And then you include Benue, you include Kogi, they are jokers. So that is why I said it was fueled by corruption. People who lost power.
In 2015?
Yeah, exactly. And they were angry. They were apprehensive of their future because the access to getting easy money was cut off. So they have to instigate some misguided people to begin to agitate for Biafra. If you talk about marginalization, I think every part of the country is marginalized. I will even say the minority peoples of Nigeria, both in the south, in the north central, in the northwest, and even in the northeast, the minority ethnic nationalities, they are the marginalized people. Some of these ethnic nationalities have never produced a director in the federal government civil service. They have never produced a commissioner of police. They have not produced an army colonel. They have not produced a minister. They have not produced a senator, even a member of the House of Representatives, even governors. There's a lot of ethnic groups in this country, and then people that have produced. The first Nigerian president was from the southeast. The first governor general was from the southeast. The senate president, the first senate president, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. The second one, Sadebe, yes, though is a Igbo man, but of south origin. Then Rizi. Then we had Okadibo, Nwabara, Nnamani. They have produced Inspector General of Police. They have produced Army Chief of Staff. They have produced Naval Chief of Staff, Air Force Chief of Staff. They have produced countless ministers, permanent secretaries, directors, and the Southeast people are everywhere in the country. They are doing well. One of the most formidable group in Nigeria. So why would the Southeast people claim that they are marginalized? Not those small, inconsequential ethnic groups you found in the south, in the north central, in the northeast, and in the northwest. Because some people see the North as one ethnic group. It's not true. The North is even more diverse than the South. If you go to states like Plateau, go to Adamawa, go to Taraba, go to Bauchi, yes, go to Gombe, go to Borno, even yes, Kebbi states, even FCT, yes, you find a lot of ethnic groups who are not Hausa, who are not Fulanis, who are not Kanuris, you know, who are not even Nupes. Yes. Yes, and then people say we are marginalized. Who is marginalized? Because we have not done well. The elites have not done well. You don't know what they are looking for. And I do not believe that this country, we are strangers. We are not. My ethnic group is in Nasarawa State. It's in Benue. In the Jukum people too are related with us. They are from Crusader State in the south. So this issue, that we are strange bedfellows, it's not true. Yes. After all, how many countries are founded by people from one common ancestry? No, even UK. In UK we have the Wales, we have the Scots. Yes. We have a lot of other ethnic groups apart from the English people. Yes. Even in Germany, in France, even in Spain, you can hear the Catalonian people. So I used to think that Spain was one ancestry, one language, one people. But I now know that Spain is diverse. So we are not the only diverse country in the world. China is diverse and they have made progress. The superpower. India is diverse and they have made progress. US is diverse and they have made progress. So all these agitations are meant to distract this government because this is the first time we are having a reformist government coming into office.
Why didn't the federal government go back to the court to ask for a variation of the IPOB leader's bail conditions when he got bail in April and he continually flouted those conditions? So we knew that he did not regard the authority of the Nigerian government over himself. We've seen all his previous statements. He regards Nigeria as a zoo. He's asked for the president to be killed. So the minute he started violating those conditions, why didn't the federal government go back to have it revoked?
It is good for a government to have patience. And the patience of this government is exceptional. And I commend the government for showing or exhibiting such uncommon patience. So that at the end of the day, if the government takes a decision, nobody will blame that government. And IPOB issue, the government was so patient. And then at the appointed time, the government made a move. And where is IPOB today? It's history. But I will not say that the federal government did nothing. When he violated the bail conditions with impunity, with scorn, with contempt, the office of the Attorney General filed a motion seeking for an order to set aside the bail conditions. So we didn't go to a slumber, we acted. And the follow-up is that we proscribed IPOB because IPOB carried on as a terrorist organization within the meaning of terrorism.
What is the effect of proscribing an organization? What does that mean to the ordinary man?
If you now profess to be a member of IPOB and you are caught, you will go to prison for 7 years. If you profess to be a member, or if anybody gives money, or if anybody allows his premises, house, place of worship, anywhere is made available to IPOD members to have a meeting, you can also be convicted and sentenced to imprisonment, a term of imprisonment. Okay. So that is the consequences of the prescription. So it's an illegal organization, yes.
Okay. What if we meet, three of us meet here as Biafrans, not under the umbrella of IPOB, but we're meeting to promote the ideals of Biafra? Does that fall within the...
Well, if you meet and discuss, or meet to seek to promote the ideals of dialogue, of agitation in a peaceful manner, in a civil manner, nobody will arrest you for being a member of Biafra. After all, apart from IPO, we have other organizations that says they are seeking for
self-determination
of Biafran people, and they have not been arrested. But if you cross the line and begin to use violence, begin to use militancy, begin to use hate language like what we saw, then you may fall foul of the provisions of the Terrorism Prevention Act.
Okay. Can proscription be reversed or deleted?
Yes, it can. If an organization that has been declared a terrorist organization and proscribed, if it repents, become born again, you no longer use the message of hate, violence, to advocate, to promote your objective, then the Attorney General can go to court and ask for the court to deproscribe.
They will approach the Attorney General.
Well, maybe they will approach through letter writing and say, look, we have denounced violence. We have denounced hate speech. We want to be civil in our agitation. Then if the Attorney General is convinced, then he has to go back to the court and maybe file an affidavit showing the court that these people have denounced militancy, they have denounced violence, they have denounced terrorism, and then the court will make an order deproscribing that organization.
Your last appeal to Nigerians who are watching you now, especially regarding this administration's war on corruption.
Yes, Nigerians must support this administration. As I said, this administration has done so much. Look at the monies we have recovered. If this administration was an administration that does not believe in transparency with accountability, if this administration is not fighting corruption, I believe this country would have been on the blink. We would have had an economic depression, not even a recession, a depression. And you can imagine if we have an economic depression, the government cannot have money to pay most of our salary. Government cannot have money to run the police, run the armed forces, and service the country. The country will be on the verge of disintegration. I want Nigerians to support this government. The president means well, and we need to fight this corruption. Now you can see a lot of things this government is doing, road constructions everywhere. It is because the government is prudent, because the government is honest. The government is transparent. The government is accountable. And that alone should make Nigerians to support this government. To say, oh, this government means well. And this government means well. Because the government is responsible. The government is responsive. Despite the economic challenges we have, the government has tried to manage the resources of this country well. And today, we are beginning to see, a glimmer of hope that the country is emerging from a recession to prosperity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Obono Black, for coming on 60 Minutes with me.
Thank you.